Let's Get To presents
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here come the Astros, burning with desire. Here come the Astros, breathing orange fire. Here come the Astros, with winning on their mind. Here come the Astros, number one every time. Go, go, Astros. We want Houston! We want Houston! Alvarez hits a high drive, center field. Beerling's back! This game is turned upside down!
And the pitch is lifted to right by Castellanos. Long run for Tucker over toward the line and foul territory. Makes the catch, and the Houston Astros do it again. 2022 World Series champions.
And now, Go Astros. Astros baseball from three guys who've been there since Art Howe had hair.
Here come the Astros, breathing orange fire. Here come the Astros.
Good morning. It's August 8th. Your Astros so far this month have gone 4-2, and we hate them, mainly because the Rangers have gone 7-0 so far. This has been just a wonderful week, and all of us are just a little groggy. It's the dog days of summer. This is Go Astros. I'm Andy Tomchesen. That's James Christopher. And with us, as always, is Brian Arbor from the Northeast, where it's not 128 degrees right now. Although he may have to swim to his office later on today. Who knows?
Challenges, right, Brian?
I'm going to take inspiration from that guy in the Montgomery brawl. I believe they're calling him Michael B. Phelps. Some are calling him Scuba Gooding Jr. So
there are, as an aside, at least two reenactments I have seen of that fight that are just hilarious. If you happen to be on the Instagram machine later on today, look those up.
I'm going to now, yeah.
But our main topic.
Who would have thought that Jose Ramirez and Tim Anderson, literally squaring up with a referee in the middle wouldn't have been the best fight from Saturday night. But
Well, I will say too, as a show plug, Let's Get To Live is up Thursday night. Emily Nyman is hosting, and she wants to do a full hour breakdown of the fight. So I cannot wait for what she has in store, but tune in, I guess.
That's a good teaser. I'm in.
Yeah.
I would love to see how that reenactment would go. Anyway, speaking of things that are struggling, let's talk about your Houston Astros. Like I said, this is a 4-2 week since the last time we recorded. We swept or continued the sweep of the Cleveland Indians, and then we, I guess, stepped up in weight class and lost two very winnable games against the Yankees in a 4-game split in Yankee Stadium. I want to get some impressions on that. I will share with you guys that I think part of the issue is just expectations, and the spotlight of playing in Yankee Stadium has made some of our fan base lose their minds. But there's probably more to it. I'll start with Brian on this. What do we take out of this weekend?
I mean, if the Astros go 4-2 every week, they'll have they'll win 100+ games over a season. Those are good weeks. Yeah. So that's one perspective. The other perspective is, as you said before, well, the Rangers keep winning, so it'd be really nice if they would lose at some point. But, at some point, A, that's out of our hands, and B, since the All-Star break, the Astros have kept up with the Rangers, and I feel more confident they'll be able to continue this pace over the long term than the Rangers, though, again, hey, that's why they play the games.
Jim, how about you?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and talk from the perspective of Irrational Astros Twitter, because for a while, I dipped my toe into that field for the Yankees series. I think it's about optics. The Astros actually split against the Yankees last year, and we walked out of that series feeling really good about things. I think that we just had two, particularly game 4, very ugly baseball games that set baseball back at least a decade. And I think is part of it. I think I think the JV start where Justin Verlander did Justin Verlander things, and I think we all have to feel the national media actually is saying the Astros basically won the trade deadline, particularly because of that pickup. I think we have to feel good about it, but I think you walk in with the lineup that, and I know like I don't nitpick every single Dusty decision, and neither does anybody else on the show. But it does seem like he put the worst possible group of players out there to back JV up, and it just felt like gut punchy from the beginning. So I think part of it is the optics, but to Brian's point, the results were the same. You split against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, no matter what, that's tough. And you came out of it without a lot of bullpen exposure, and you, for the most part, scored a lot of runs. So you should feel really good against particularly the Orioles series that starts tonight, where you should have the advantage on the mound in every one of those starts.
Having said that, this is definitely a step up in weight class to play the Orioles after a healthy diets of Indians and Yankees. And our Yankees fans who do watch, I apologize. I know you don't want to hear that.
I think they think it too, man. At this point, they are.
They're a 500 team this year, and as their beat reporter there, Chandler, pointed out, they're 500 over the last 200 games.
They are what their record says they are.
It's fair. And I feel a little bit like watching the Yankees, watching Stanton over the weekend walk into home plate, walk into a tag. Felt a lot like the Yankees season for me. Just we're gonna try, but not a lot. Just
but Sunday's game was so ugly that it was, and to make matters worse, it was an Angel Hernandez game, and the umpire report card came out, and it was, first of all, he was awful. I think 80% accuracy or something like that. And it benefited the Yankees by a run and a half. And even they were still mad about how bad of an umpiring job that was. So I wish I could be as terrible as my job and keep it just like Angel Hernandez.
I think
and by the way, the Yankees got Laz Diaz last night, and it didn't get better.
I think I actually read somewhere that Angel Hernandez in day games is the worst umpire in the last 40 years. Like somebody had compiled that he's somehow worse in day games than he is at night.
When he can see better. Yeah,
I don't know what that's about. Maybe he's one of those guys that sneezes when he gets out in the sunlight. I don't know.
He's got a vitamin D deficiency, and it just really cranks
like
up out there.
In the area of good news, the Astros spent their off day in the White House, which caused Astros Twitter to lose their minds because, as you found out, the Astros are one of the things that unifies us, unless it comes to who's in the White House. It was a whole lot of pictures of frowny people near Joe Biden and then frowny people near Donald Trump from the last time the Astros went. It felt like much ado about nothing, but it occupied most of my Twitter feed from noon on to about 8 o'clock last night. This is what happens on an off day, but can't we just be happy that the team won? And this is part of the tradition of winning in this country is you go visit whoever's in the White House.
Look, I am not a Trump guy, but if I were on a World Series winning team during that administration, the idea you get to go to the White House, like you ignore who's up there for the hour that you're there and soak it in. And it's, what's funny is I saw the internet reaction too, but the photos coming out from the official Astros Twitter account looked like everybody was having a good time. I mean, Bregman apparently had the best lemonade he's ever had. So what's more Americana than that?
White House lemonade for everybody, both this year and next year.
Yeah.
And Brian, you won't have exposure to this, but I guarantee you within 12 months, HEB will be selling some Breggy Bomb lemonade because he's now been inspired. There'll be yet a third thing in the staple with salsa and barbecue sauce. There'll be lemonade. I mean,
will that also correspond to a 100-point drop in his OPS?
Well, as we talk about the struggles the Astros have, that's kind of a good transition because Brian wrote a great article this morning about, the perception of parades over prospects. And Jim, you brought up the idea that the Astros may have won the trade deadline. Some other people have different opinions on that. I personally think that's a weird dichotomy because only one team truly wins the trade deadline if you're measured in championships.
Right.
But if we don't start getting consistent offensive production from third base, first base, and shortstop, I don't know that it matters what pitcher we acquired or what outfielder we held on to or didn't hold on to. And Jim, I'll start with you on this. What's it going to take over this last 48, 49 games to guarantee a playoff spot? I'm not even talking about winning the division. That's still very attainable. But what has to get better? What has to get more consistent? Or is this just what this team is? And we'll talk about the addition they made in just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, the the addition they made. Yeah, I think you also said it in probably the right order. Third base has got to be he has got to be better. And I know that he's had stretches where we thought he was back, and he does seem to we've had maybe 3 or 4, I guess, false starts on whether he was fully back to what he was last year. He's got to be better, and I think and I know Brian will we have the lineup discussion, the lineup construction discussion all the time, and I do think in most Astros teams it doesn't matter, but it does seem like stacking all those hitters together, the Astros seem to win those games and score runs, and they don't when they're spread out. I think Bregman will eventually come around. I think Jose Abreu is who he is, and he's who he thought he was going to be, right? I don't think anybody thought he was going to put on an Astros uniform and become 10 years younger. He's in a funk again, but I think he's had enough consistency of at least getting base hits with runners in scoring position that we can feel all right about it. I actually am very worried about the shortstop position, about Pena. I don't think it's a jump ship on the experiment, because I do think sophomore slumps are a thing, and we can see what next year looks like. I thought it was cute how wide-eyed he was through all his photos at the White House. Like looked like he was 14 at his first strip bar or something. It was fun. But I don't know. Brian maybe can address what's going on with Pena more than I can, because it seems like it's not even just on the offense, but it's also his defense, where he's just not near the player he was last year.
Yeah, I mean, so one thought I have about Pena is I wrote something about this time last year about everyone jumping off of the Jeremy Pena bandwagon. In August of last year, about the same time, and the conclusion I came up doing a deep dive into his numbers is he was in a slump, but it's the ups and downs of a season. We all think Jeremy Pena is the superstar because his best 2 weeks of last season,
right,
like 13 games. It's 2 weeks. It's basically 2 weeks of the season happened during the playoffs. Thank you for that. I mean, that's probably just good fortune shining down on him. And, so he's got that, and he's got, the most handsome face in baseball, I think, too. So, things are working out in his favor. But yeah, so some of this is, I think Pena is more vulnerable to slumps than the average player because his contact rate is lower.
Okay.
And so this is, to me, this is 2 years of, an up and down performance from Pena at the plate. And I'm going to start expecting this across his career. And I think there's sort of good reasons to think that. With that being said, I don't think this team has the team's offense has stepped up in the last 2 months and gotten a lot better than it was in the first 2 months. The Astros have averaged over 5 runs a game.
Yeah.
That's 7th best in baseball, 7th most runs in baseball since June 1st. So I'm not, cherry picking picked essentially a random date and some period of time here. They're over that time, 252 batting average, 323 on base, 436 slugging, 110 WRC plus. So that's 10% better than league average. So again, this isn't the juggernauts that we saw in 2017, 2018, 2019, but the offense has gotten a lot better in the last 2 months, and that's been essential because the pitching has taken a step back in that time. Again, let's go to the thing here. They're in really good shape to make the playoffs. I think I put this in the article today that there's an 86% chance they make the playoffs, and they're even odds, or again, this is a Fangraphs, to win the division despite being 3 games behind, the Rangers. It's a good team. They're on their way to the playoffs. Can they screw that up? Yeah. Are they likely to? No. And part of why they're a good team is the offense isn't top in the league. It isn't, a dominant juggernaut, but it's been very effective over the last 2 months. Yeah. Do I wish they'd score 7 runs every game? Absolutely. But not every team does that.
Yeah. One of the things I was curious about, because you are right. It does seem like Andy and I are talking about this. Like, it seems like particularly the last 6 weeks of when the offense is hitting, the pitching isn't. When the pitching is working, the offense isn't hitting. It feels like there's been very few days where both of those things are happening together at the same time. And I think that's maybe just, I don't know what you can do to fix that. But I mean, both of you guys, I think, Andy, you've been around baseball at this level a lot longer than I have. And Brian, you obviously know the numbers. Can Pena's contact rate be improved, or is he what he is? Andy, I mean, is this what he is?
Some of the stuff that Dusty had an article, I guess, or not Dusty, but Brian McTaggart had an article quoting Dusty over the last couple of days, talking about Pena's struggles and that he's in between right now. And what they meant by that is he's, way ahead of any kind of breaking balls, but he's too slow on any kind of fastball. So anything he hits is generally turning into a ground ball because he's so busy making adjustments. To put it in a vernacular that, Jim, you might understand or appreciate, his swing right now is a folding chair. Tin Cup. It is not
I just thought of Renee Russo with all that stuff connected to her head. Sorry.
Right. But that's mentally, that's what he's going through. I think he is dramatically overthinking anything. Over the course of this season, he has lost a leg kick, added a leg kick, step, removed the toe step. I don't think he knows whether he's coming or going right now. And some of that is on him taking too much of an approach, if that makes sense, overthinking things, buying the pendulum that hangs from your head and because he's got the batting yips, lack of a better term. But I also think some of that's on coaching, because they've got to figure out a way to simplify what's happening to him for him. And I know that Snichter and the rest of the hitting staff are working with him and trying to figure that out, but it's a struggle to watch it in real time. And if the Astros had other options to play at shortstop that would be even having a hope of being productive, I think you would have seen him have a scheduled IL stint at some point this month. But that's just not the reality of who the Astros are right now, because nobody here wants a healthy diet of Greg Kessinger at shortstop or Mauricio Dubon in his 0.48 OPS over the last 60 games or so. He's struggled as well. So it's just, I think it's, we talk about it all the time. It's a matter of making adjustments. And right now the league is, to Dusty's point, taking advantage of whatever he's trying to do and doing the thing that's not going to work for him.
So it might be an off season before we really see this fixed.
I mean, could he get hot for 2 weeks or 40 games? Absolutely. I don't see anything that's in his basic approach right now that would lead me to believe that's going to happen. Is he going to run into a few balls because he swings the bat really hard? Sure. Is he going to become a 300 hitter over the next 50 games? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. And I hope he gets it turned around, because I kind of like the idea that he's really the part of the face of the new team. And I think he's good from that perspective, But
I think if that's the case, you also can't keep putting him in this 2-hole and hoping it's just going to work out. And if I've got a gripe with Dusty and his lineups, it's that there's no real, I know we talk about lineup construction not mattering, but he can't keep coming up in RBI situations and not even making contact with the ball, or worse, hitting in double plays. And he keeps that baseball finds you when you're struggling. And it's happened a lot to him over the last month, where he's been in situations where he has the chance to blow open games and he just can't do it right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's been sad to watch. So that's how I take things. I don't get mad. I get sad. So I guess maybe that's different than the rest of Astros Twitter, who acts like they punched their mother in the face or something.
Let's change the topic to something happy. The Astros have made a roster move.
Hold on before you do.
Are we putting this in post?
Oh, it'll be in there now, man. We're doing this thing live.
Yeah, none of us hear it.
Oh, well, you'll hear it on my microphone. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
That was the hallelujah chorus for everybody out there.
Okay. The Astros, to address both a left-handed hitting deficit as well as to give our 36-year-old first baseman a little bit of a breather, have brought up a 32-year-old first baseman in John Singleton. John Singleton, famously, his nickname is not deck chairs, but it could be, is being brought up because of his miraculous resurgence, I guess, for lack of a better term, with the Sugarland Space Cowboys this year. He was a member of the Milwaukee organization earlier the year, got a brief call up to the Brewers, and then was DFA'd. The Astros picked him up, signed him to their AAA team as a minor league free agent, and he has done nothing but hit home runs and get on base since then. This is going to be one of those, we're going to argue about the 26th man on the roster things, but John Singleton's getting called up today. Brian, is this the savior we're all waiting for?
Absolutely. From this day on, I expect the Astros to not lose a game, to become the best offensive team in baseball, and to, you know how they went 11-2 last year in the playoffs, 11-0 this year.
Brian, in 100 episodes of this show, that's the most like vehement and stand like about anything you've ever been. This is the hill I'm dying on, people.
And this is the most facetious thing I think I've said in 100 episodes of this show. John Singleton will get an occasional start at first base. Say what you will about Jose Abreu and whether you think he should be benched or not. He's a veteran player, and one thing Dusty Baker is going to do, play and express confidence in his veteran players. He may play some occasionally at DH while Jordan's in left field, but he's most likely going to take some pinch hit at bats late in the game. So my sort of estimate thinking about it is he's going to get 20 plate appearances the rest of this month. And so, yeah, it'd be really great if he went, 8 for 20 with a home run in there. That would be a really high OPS. Home run or two in there, that'd be a really high OPS, but it's 20 plate appearances. So some of them will be high leverage because it's a late pinch hit appearance for someone like Maldonado or Myers. But my expectations in reality are pretty muted, mostly because I don't think he'll get enough playing time to make a big difference. Could he have a big hit for us in a key situation? Absolutely. Will it overall change the trajectory of the team? If that leads us to winning the division by one game against the Rangers, I will certainly enjoy that, but I don't anticipate this is going to change much about the team. I do think they're a little bit better off having a left-handed option off the bench and being more willing to pinch hit. But we'll see how that actually plays out in reality, because Dusty's been reluctant to pinch hit, particularly before the ninth inning for guys like Maldonado and Myers.
Because reasons. The thing is, so I made the mistake of having a relatively reasonable look. I think that we've become so territorial in Astros Twitter that if you think something is going to not work out the way the rest of them work out, it's like you hope that it won't, and that becomes your tribe. Do I want to see Singleton come up and have an 1100 OPS and rake all day? Absolutely. Do I think if what Brian says he could contribute of going maybe 8 for 20 and play and pinch it, that would be amazing. But the idea is that there is this belief that if you do not think, I picked Handel's Messiah for a reason, because that's what people are acting. And if God forbid you express any opinion different than that, you either don't know baseball or you are a constant negative Nelly, neither of which I think apply to me. I've seen him play now in 3 different games against 3 different teams, because I saw him twice when he was with the Sounds and once when he was with Sugarland in person. Yeah, he raked in all 3 of those games. Andy, we saw him hit one literally out of the ballpark in Nashville. Literally.
Yep. Almost hit the guitar.
Yeah, literally. But if you don't understand particularly the PCL and how the pitching talent works in that, or how the ballparks play, you could look at those numbers without context and think, oh my God, he's been this thing we're waiting for. There is a reason why Milwaukee only gave him 20 plate appearances before they DFA'd him. And it isn't because he didn't produce in those 20 plate appearances, because they didn't see him producing anywhere else down the road. And I think we have to see, is the team better off than having him than Kessinger? Probably. Or whoever they send down. I would say probably, because he at least can.
His name was Corey Julks.
Okay, so I think the Astros are better off with him than Corey Julks at this point, because as Brian's been warning us and Andy's been warning us all season, Corey Julks eventually caught up with him. And I feel like if at least Singleton runs into as many balls as Julks, they're going to go farther. But I don't think that he is going to be your starting first baseman come October 3rd, or if the Astros hopefully aren't playing October 7th or 8th.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the best case is that he's somehow Kevin Moss. And that's an old time baseball reference for you, but somebody who comes out of nowhere and just puts up a 900 OPS over the last 49 games. And wow, second place in rookie of the year. I think he is still rookie eligible, by the way. It might be pretty close because I don't think he's had that many major league games under his belt. But the reality is, if you need another reference, he's Pedro Serrano. And one of the things we love about baseball is there's that chance that Pedro Serrano is going to hit the ball and figure out how to hit a curveball. I don't know that that's the thing that John Singleton's ever going to do
at 32.
At 32, and that's he's limited defensively. The Astros have effectively made themselves more one-dimensional as a baseball team, as a roster. Now it's minor because we are talking about the 26 man on the roster on a team that doesn't rotate players as much as even we complain that we do. But he's a guy that if you throw him the fastball in the wrong situation, he's going to hit it a really, really far away. The problem is the difference in pitching between what you see in the PCL and what he's going to experience in the major leagues is a number of orders of magnitude better. And it's proven out in his limited time in the major leagues that he's just not a major league hitter. I hope something has switched, and I don't want to be right about this, but I just don't see, besides offering Abreu a day off here and there and for putting a left-handed bat in the lineup potentially, I don't see a lot of benefit to this. Ultimately, you'd still like Michael Brantley's shoulder to magically heal in the next 2 weeks and him to be on the roster. That would help the team. I don't know that John Singleton helps the team. I think we are all grasping at straws, Astros Twitter especially, who really want this to work out and really have been screaming about it for the last few weeks because we are spoiled and not used to being in second place. And if we were in first place by 8 games like we have been for the last 7 years at this point in the season, we wouldn't care who the 26 man is. But right now we're putting a undue amount of pressure on a guy who's never produced in his major league career. And it's kind of unfair, but I guess it'll be interesting to see how it turns out.
Well, and look,
I will say this, if he homers in his first at bat and then it'll be awesome.
Well, and that's the thing. There's I would love for this to work out. I mean, as a screenwriter, like the romantic part of all of this is fantastic. But I think that to keep people from being as finicky, because what this fan base does is they put somebody, this is backup quarterback syndrome. It's really what it is.
Yeah.
He's so good until he doesn't play well, until he becomes Cody Carlson after 3 games. And then all of a sudden he's
this is
never
Bucky
happened in baseball.
Richardson.
Oh, it's Bucky. It's Bucky. Even better. Although I don't want to crap on Andy's former, Aggie players.
Bucky was great at A&M. So no.
Bucky was a very good college quarterback. Full stop.
Good.
Yeah,
I have
he's Major Applewhite.
Good. I have a very serious point to make about more serious than we usually make about John Singleton, which is we should be very careful about how we talk and how, in particular, we make jokes about John Singleton's addiction to marijuana. And the reason I say this is a lot of people smoke and enjoy and then stop. John Singleton was an addict and had major health problems as a result of that, and it was very costly to him, both as a person and to his major league career. And this is to me making fun of, you want to make Willie Nelson or Snoop Dogg jokes about that, perfectly fine, right? But John Singleton had serious medical problems as a result of this, and it's not something I think I want to make fun of, make light of, or have other people do that.
Have you seen a lot of that? I haven't seen that yet. Have you seen?
I've seen enough of it that I want to make a point of it. So, again, and the possibility that it grows is certainly there as if he does go off. So this, to me, hey, you could do lots of jokes about Major League Baseball players because it fits one of the first rules of comedy, which is always punch at people who are higher status than you. And you're perfectly fine to do that.
Yeah.
But someone who has a medical issue and who is an addict and suffered serious medical consequences for that, now I think we're punching down and sort of takes away the seriousness. So, more
Yeah,
serious.
I
than we
haven't
usually
seen
am.
that yet.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that yet, which I'm
There's been a couple things. There's an Astros bong picture floating around that the Astros are marking bong night and that kind of stuff. I will say, on a little bit lighter side, just tread lightly because John Singleton's wife will find you on Twitter. Even if you're saying something somewhat complimentary, he will track you down.
and she will reply with numbers, baby. She's the Brian Arbor of Twitter wives. She will reply with numbers.
Well, after that Nashville game, I posted, "Hey, John Singleton's not dead," and I got a full. You're right, he's not. Okay,
here are screen grabs from his baseball reference page. No, look, I think, but that's I guess what I'm talking about, Brian. Like I can see if he does fall on his face, that becoming the punchline. And I don't think anybody on this show, nobody wants anything other than for him. I mean, because it's a great story if he comes back and contributes. It's nothing. It's Rocky Balboa. Nobody likes that better than anybody. Get off the deck. I just think as Astros fans, the best thing for us and for John Singleton is to temper what that looks like, because it doesn't look like him becoming Yordan Alvarez 2, which is what I think some people are preparing themselves for.
Underdog stories are great because you don't expect it.
Right.
And I'd love for my expectations to be upset by
in a good way.
Yeah, and I still think ultimately the team is better with them on the roster versus some of the other people we don't even remember coming up and down. I just don't. Again, I don't think people need to see that 1,000 OPS translating to. And you know what's funny, Andy? It might for a while because, frankly, even a lot of the pitching talent the Astros are going to see right away isn't very good. So even the Orioles pitching staff, I think, is going to match up pretty well for the Astros in that series.
Well, the Orioles have a great bullpen, so you want to get to them early, and if you can do that, you'll be in good shape.
If I'm John Singleton and I happen to hit even a double in my first at bat, I'm retiring at that moment because it's not going to get any better. And I'll live out the legend at that point. But it's that's kind of where it is. I think it's 3 tough games coming up against Baltimore because they are a very, very good team. For baseball fans that only casually watch or only pay attention to the Astros, this is not the Orioles team from 2 years ago.
No, this is more like your Astros team of 15, really.
Yeah, they're not even the
Or
Orioles
17
from last year who kind of cratered. This is a very solid, well put together team. The only thing they're missing is frontline starters, and any given day we can make a frontline starter or we can make a AAA call up look like Cy Young. So it's.
Yeah, I mean, Brian's point is correct. Get to them early and hope that your bullpen keeps it all together, because that's how they've been winning games, is they've been winning them late. And and I don't think the Rangers are very good. I think they are above mediocre. I think the one thing the Rangers have done better than the Astros is they beat the teams they're supposed to beat. And for the immediate future, they're going to play a lot of teams they're supposed to beat. And so I think the head-to-head can show you who's really the better team. And I think that when they meet anybody that's really well above 500, they don't tend to win. But I think the Astros still win the division by 2 or 3 games, but I think it's going to feel uncomfortable for the immediate future.
The biggest sign of respect we can give another team is actually talking about them without joking. The Rangers are a very, very solid team. I think we've been saying that for at least the last several weeks. They are going to be hurt by the losses of Jonah Heim and now Josh Young, who evidently has a broken thumb. Nathan Eovaldi's status is still TBD. So that's 2-3 big pieces of their team that I think they're going to feel maybe not immediate pain from, but certainly pain over the last 45, 50 games.
And we've seen what can happen to a good team with 3 big pieces missing for
So I think it'll be interesting. I think the way baseball is constructed now, winning the division is great and certainly an advantage. Making the playoffs is more important. Both teams are very well positioned to do that. So we need to take care of business against teams we should beat, and that needs to start tonight against the Orioles.
Yeah, and I think it will. And I think, I think that there's a lot to feel positive about. I think, again, JV did JV things. And I think everybody had to breathe a sigh of relief when he went 7, gave up 2 or 3 runs that felt like, okay, some normalcy to the rotation is back.
Unfortunately for JV, it also felt very normal that we scored 1 run in his start. Womp womp.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
All right, I think that wraps it up. Again, big 3-game series coming up against the Orioles, and then 3 against the Angels at home. And we'll talk to you after that series is wrapped up. Closing shots, gentlemen.
But Let's Get Two's got a great episode of covering the Erie Seawolves, including we had so much stuff. We're actually going to have deleted scenes promoting the episode between now and when it drops. So it's a team I was excited to get out to visit, and they were everything I hoped they were. So check it out Thursday.
I've been on vacation since our last show. I'm tan, rested, and ready for the last 50 games of the season. Go Astros.
You do look tan, Brian. Go Astros for Brian's tan.
Well, it's important to get a tan. It's also important that Yordan Alvarez keeps hitting. I like that 1,009 OPS in the lineup again. Go Astros.